Hello and welcome. I hope this works okay. I'm having technical difficulties to get started. Um, so once my screen catches up to the camera, I'll be able to see what's going on here. Um, Hopefully you guys can see me and hear me okay. Um, no, I'm off to the center. Why am I off? Okay, sorry. I got to, um, and I got to mute myself because I'm listening to myself talk and that doesn't work. I have no idea why the camera is off to the side and crooked. Um, I didn't change anything from last time, but it's been a day. Hello, welcome. I'm Michelle. I'm the office manager here at Apogee Components. And Tim usually does the RockSim lives. He had a meeting today and we weren't sure if he was going to get done in time. And it's 2:02, so I guess he's not, he may come running in here at some point. Who knows? Because he's here in the building. He's just closeted away with his planning team, planning big things for next year. Um, so, um, yeah, super goofy, the off to the side thing, but we'll make it work. Um, so because I wasn't planning on doing this, I have one whole question that came in that I am ready to answer. Um, so if you guys have any questions, I see a couple or I see one coming in, put them in the chat definitely, and let us know if you have any questions about anything. Um, Also, congratulations. This is our 100th episode, our 100th RockSim Live. So I do have a little gift for you guys that I will share later, a coupon code later in the video production because it's live. I'm not sure what to call it. Live stream, I guess. So we will have a coupon code that's available later. Remind me if we get to the end and I haven't shown it. Hopefully, I'll remember. I'm also having technical difficulties with that, but I can get it to work. It's just a little goofy. So, yeah. Um, so to start, I'm going to switch and we will see if my screen share works in full screen um, or not. And then I will go from there. In the meantime, I'm going to look up. So Carlos had a question in the chat about a. Darn it, that one's off center too. Okay, I will just have to remember that my screen is kind of there-ish. Carlos had asked about whether we will be selling a NAR competition B altitude kit. So I'm going to look up, whoops, not NARA, NAR competition B altitude. Because I don't have all the competitions memorized for what the requirements are. Oh, there it is, right there. So, sorry, I need to come in a little bit more on my screen. Oh, that's results. We don't need the results. So altitude. So what Carlos is talking about, if you're not familiar with this, there's the NAR, the National Association of Rocketry, has a competition. Also, I'm not showing up, huh? When I do this, I'm just realizing, so you can't see me, which I'm totally okay with, but I'll kind of squeeze myself in there, real tiny. NAR has a sorry, um, competition that covers the whole year. And you compete during the year in different events at your like local clubs, and you earn points. And then I believe there's a competition at Nearham too, a final competition, but it may just be the points. I can't remember. I'm sorry. Tim does the competitions; he would know better. But I just kind of know generally. So, anyways, there's a competition, and they have a bunch of different events, and you can see over here, other than the fact that now I'm covering it up, but you can see there's a payload, altitude, egg locking. There's a bunch of different altitude events. There's duration events, craftsmanship. So there's a whole bunch of different events that go on. So maybe if you don't care so much about altitude, but you really like to build beautiful scale models, maybe, so you could compete in that event. You don't need to compete in all of them, although I think there's like all around things too. So altitude in this case would says altitude comprises 12 events. Um, and then the events are broken into different classes. So class is a motor. So B obviously is a B motor for that. Um, so um, I'm guessing that you literally just have to build, um, you can build any rocket. Sometimes they have rules, but about the um, rocket size on them. So I'm not sure about that. This doesn't say anything here about the that. So so maybe you just can build any old rocket that holds a B motor and try and get it as high as possible. So what you could do, I mean, we don't have, I think most of our competition rockets, and we do have, let me show you this real quick while we're going along. If you go under the shop menu and then rocket kits, we do actually have a category for FAI competition kits. So FAI, so there's the NAR competitions, and then there's the FAI, which is French for the Aerospace International Federation or something, in French. So it's Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. Clearly, I don't speak French. Um, I'm much better at the German, the hard, angry letters. Um, so anyways, it's a world competition that happens all around the world, and so people, you represent your country, kind of like the Olympics for model rocketry basically. So these kits are specifically to those events. They can be the same events that are in the NAR. So we do have this category here. So and it talks about the different events that are used, or the different rockets that are working for that. So this one only has a scale altitude, which would be a scale rocket for that. So we don't have anything specific here. However, if you're going B altitude, generally when you want altitude competitions, you're looking for very lightweight, very small, so minimum diameter. So the body tube's the same size as the motor. A B motor would be 18 millimeter. So you're looking for an 18 millimeter kit that weighs as little as possible. And if you look at these competition kits, and if you're interested in altitude in any way, shape, or form, I would look at some of these anyways. Um, they may not, the kit itself may not apply to what you need, but they have very cool, Tim talks about tips and tricks to get things lighter, because your whole goal is to make it as light as possible. And so even if this kit design doesn't work for you, the tips and tricks still do. Um, so like in this case, the International Thermal Sailor, the rocket, when I was talking about how the rockets sometimes have to have specific diameters, this one, um, it has to be a BT60, 41.6 millimeter. So that's why it's like, and it has to be a certain percentage of the length has to be it. So basically this is as small as possible you can get. And so it's got this BT60 tube, but then that fulfills the like size requirement. So then he tapers it down, and then you're using a little 13 millimeter motor. And everything, the nose cone's vacuform, so it's really, really thin plastic, not like a big heavy molded plastic nose cone. The fins are really thin wood. Um, a lot of times they use a streamer instead of a parachute, just because the weight of a streamer is a lot less. Um, there's a helicopter duration, and the blades are like super thin. So those are the types of things you're looking for in an altitude-based rocket anyways, just in general. So in terms of, we do have if you are going down this path, this is more about our site than RockSim, but um, under the shop menu, you can actually go to our sortable rocket list on the right hand side, and on mobile it'll be on the bottom below the regular menu. And then this little chart pops up, and it's kind of hard to see because I've got the window so shrunk. And the categories are kind of funny, but you can sort by different categories. I'm going to get rid of some of these because it's really hard to read. Um, so I don't care about payload because we're going um, altitude. Okay, so now we have a little more room. So in this case, we're looking for an 18 millimeter kit. So we're going to go less than an inch because 18 millimeter is like 0.86, I think. So diameter. So we've already filtered out most of the big ones. And then the motor size, again, we can filter by 18 millimeter. So these are the kits that have an 18 millimeter motor mount in them, or are 18 millimeter. And then also then you can sort by diameter. So the Condor Boost glider, obviously that's a glider that won't work for it. You wouldn't want to use that for your B altitude duration. But if you look at some of these, like the Viking, we sell this as a 12 pack, or in a single too. So I'm going to open a couple of these up that would work. So the Frit is a good, if the B altitude competition is for payload, so you have to have something in there, then the Frit would work well because it's a payload altitude 18 millimeter. It's designed for competition. It might actually be a good kit for not even without a payload. But if you look at these kits, they're really little. This one probably wouldn't be as good because it's got, what, 5 fins? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So more fins means more weight. The Blue Streak is one that I think originally a lot of people use because it's literally a nose cone, a tube, 3 fins. And there is a 13 millimeter motor mount in there, I think, but you can just leave it out and do minimum diameter. So, I mean, it's pretty bare bones. It could be lightened up a little bit. It's got a kind of thick plastic nose cone here. So you could swap that out for like a vacuform one. The fins, they're 1/16 inch balsa, so they're pretty small, thin, but like, could you go a little thinner? Probably, but like this would be one that would work for that there. Um, so, whoa, chat's all over the place. Um, and Carlos wanted to know if we could build one on RockSim. We can go ahead and do that. That's fine. I'm just going to look through some of these comments. And we've got freezing in Marietta, Georgia. Yeah, I heard somebody say, maybe I'm lying yesterday, that it's like 20 degrees in Decatur or Atlanta or something. So, which for Georgia is not normal. It's like 20 degrees here, but that's a little bit more expected in Colorado. Snowing in Ottawa. Yeah, it's snowing everywhere right now. So yay, 100. Yeah. So Carlos says, how about a 2-stage 13 millimeter A1000 and A36T? Um, well, if you want to do something like that, I mean, you'd have to find motor files or create motor files for motors that, because those motors don't exist. The biggest motor, A motor in 13 millimeter, is an A10. So that's what you're limited to for that. So we got people from all over today. Um, so, um, so let me open up my RockSim here, and then let's see. I gotta make sure this is still visible on my window. Looks like I need to shrink this. Hopefully this works okay. This is gonna get a little weird because of my weird window problem. So the Blue Streak is a kit we sell, so we could actually just go find the Blue Streak for your B altitude. So you'll just go into your designs folder and your Apogee components folder, and there's the Blue Streak right there. So this is our Blue Streak rocket. So if we just choose an engine, and we want a B and B6, there are the 18 millimeter Quest B6 composite motors. So those are more powerful than, they've got a longer burn time. So if we're comparing like the Estes B6 and the Quest B6, the burn time is like another third longer. The total impulse is more. The average thrust is a little less, but not much. So let's just run both of these and see what happens. So the longest delay there. So this is the Quest, and I'm going to put a comment in here, Quest composite. So I loaded my engine. Streamer is going to deploy max ejection. Those all look good. I got a 5 foot launch rod. That's a little long for a blue streak, but we'll just leave it. We got our 8 mile per hour wind. Today that wouldn't be enough here. It's a little windy and very cold. So launch. Okay, so with this quest, I don't have my comments showing, so I'm going really fast. If you can edit these columns in your RockSim, so like it defaults to certain ones that you may or may not find useful. If you right click, you can organize columns and you can add. These are all the columns that are available to add to your screen. Obviously, the more you add, it's going to get longer and longer. So, all right, guys. Usually I limit it to the ones I really like. Simulation, it just tells you what number it is in the simulation. Your results, that's the parachute that tells you if it was, the perfect delay, a little over, a little under crashes. Engines loaded, that's an important one to have. So you know which engine it is. Optimal delay, that RockSim tells you what it should be, your altitude, obviously. Max velocity, max acceleration. Those are one of those things that some people just find cool to look at, but also they're kind of helpful to see because some rockets just can't handle um, speeds at a certain point. If you like, say you theoretically could fit like an I motor in the Blue Streak, its velocity would be like, or acceleration, or your velocity would be like 1,000,000 miles an hour, and the fins would rip off and it'd fall apart. So it's kind of handy to look at. If you're using like a small kit, there's no motors that are going to do that. So velocity deployment, that's an important one, although that is going to be dependent on your delay, motor delay. So if your motor delay is wrong, so like velocity deployment here is 11 seconds or 11 miles per hour. That's pretty low. That's fine. But if you see your optimal delay is 7 seconds and your motor has a delay of 8 seconds or 6 seconds, that's off. So your velocity deployment is like 75 miles per hour. That's going to shred your parachute. So finding that correct delay, that's kind of what you're zoning in on. And then velocity at launch guide departure, I always use this one. This is like, honestly, to me, this is more important than like altitude because for your rocket to be stable, you have to be going at least 30 miles per hour off the launch rod. Now we're using a 5 foot rod with a little tiny rocket. It's going to be fine. But say we had kind of a big short squat rocket that still flies off that little tiny, little Estes pad or the Apogee pad or whatever, because it's got an 1/8 inch launch rod, but like it's got a wimpy motor in it and it's kind of heavy. If it's going less than 30 miles per hour, what that means is it's when it starts to correct, if like the wind hits it, it's not going to have enough speed to be able to correct, and it could go unstable spin, could hit somebody, whatever. So you always want to be around over 30 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour, 32 miles per hour, 32 feet per second. There's a bunch of kind of range there, but it all kind of comes down to that same speed. So I always use that one. And then the weather cocking, that's the cone, tells you if it's angled too much or too little. So there's all these other ones. But comments, that's handy if you have comments for your flights. Like I just put that Quest composite motor there. So that way, because when we're looking at it, we see B6-6, and then we're going to run the Estes one. Yeah, 6. Oops, except you have to remember to change it. I do kind of wish this would clear out every time. Black powder. Okay, we're gonna delete this guy because my notes are. Okay, so we got the Quest composite and the Estes black powder, and this one does have the W. So for like the white lightning or whatever they call that. I'm not sure Quest uses Aerotex naming conventions or if they have a different white something or other. But so you can kind of tell the difference, but like at a glance, this way I've just got my little notes. So with the Quest composite motor, which we looked at and had a longer burn time and had a total impulse that was higher, it's going to be going 1,200 feet. On the Estes black powder, it's only going 1,000 feet. So your your composite one's going to be better for your altitude for that. So So yeah, that's basically taking a generic B engine kit, flying it and seeing different things there. Okay. Um, Carla says, "Oops, I'm in an A10, not an A1000." um, Yeah, Terry says it's hard to get the big your big fingers in those little rockets. I agree. It's funny that like people think that the like with when kid people buy rockets for kids, they want these little guys like the Viking or whatever, and some of it's they're cheap, they're easy, whatever. But like I mean they're tiny and the parts are tiny, and kids have tiny hands, so maybe they can kind of get away with it. But these little tiny, tubes you're trying to pick up, like sometimes it's better to get a bigger rocket that's, BT-80 so you can kind of stick your hand in a little bit and like, the pieces are bigger. I agree. Sometimes it's really hard. You should try, we bag up these kits to sell to you guys and like, or like shear pins, like bagging up our little nylon shear pins, those little shins that got to do 20 per pack and we have got to build 200 of them, it's hard to pick up all those little pieces. I agree. Um, Okay, so then we're looking at two-stage rockets. So what Carlos had said was a two-stage 13 millimeter, and then Johannes says a lightweight two-stage 8 with an A10-0 and a half A3-4T. Yeah. So I'm going to pull up one of our competition rockets. Let's see. Oops. I didn't mean to go big. How do I go unbig? Ah, this is single stage. I don't want the single stage. I want the two stage. So I'm going to go to the shop menu and then I'm going to multi-stage rockets. So this is where all our two-stage rockets live. Oh my gosh. So these are all big guys, so we wouldn't do that for the 13 millimeter here. But we are looking for, whoops. Okay. Um, Spec. That's the one I was looking for. I think that's the good one. Yeah. So the spec, whoops, sorry, I'm scrolling really fast. Make everybody dizzy. Um, so this is a two-stage, so this is designed to win, this is designed to win the NARB engine altitude event. So Carlos, we do have one. Because it's 13 millimeter, I didn't even think about that. So I think because you're using two A motors, the two A motors equal a B. Um, because every time you go up a letter, you double in power. So one B equals two A's, one C equals two B's, which is four A's. So I guess you're allowed to do that. I'll tell Tim to talk about competition rockets next time because he competes not only in the NAR ones but also in they do the FAI. His daughter is going to be on the I think senior team for the FAI competition, which is going to be here in the United States this year in July. So if you have, I think it's July, um, or maybe early August. If you have time to head to Houston, Houston, Houston in the summer, you could go watch those. There'll be people from all over the world. Normally, it's other places. Tim's been to Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria um, for it. I don't know why they've all been in Eastern Europe lately, but um, that's where they tend to be. But it's our turn. So the spec. Um, and that's what Carlos was probably getting at. There's a lot of stuff in rocketry, and it's hard to remember all of it. And like stuff like competition is so specific. If you're not actively involved in it, it's kind of a little overwhelming. Because there's just so many categories. And for a long time, the NAR competitions changed categories every year. So there was like a pool of like 20 different competitions, and then each year they would pick like 10 of them or something um, to do. And so each year they would pick like 10 competitions. So there was a whole pool of a lot of them, but I think they've narrowed it down. So there's like, now there's like eight static competitions, and then they pick a couple for them, but I don't remember that changed like this year or last year, I think. Again, I am not the competition person. So this is the spec. It's pretty spiffy looking. It's also very tiny. So what I did, I'm zooming in. So I clicked on this little icon to get to the camera. And then, I don't know if it, because my window's shrunk, it's not going to let me do it. So it's very tiny. So this is what it looks like. So your rocket has to fit your payload. And I think the payload is 18 millimeter, the NAR payload. I know that we sell a NAR payload. What did I do with the internet? Shrunk the internet. NAR payload. Payload, there we go. So for the payload, NAR payload competitions, they require this like payload mass, and it has to fit a certain size. So I don't know if this fits in the frit or not, but for the spec or not, but so yeah, so what you'll notice with a lot of the competition rockets is there'll be a bigger section to fulfill whatever requirement is that requires that bigger tube, like I said, that BT60, or here the 18 millimeter, but then it tapers down to get it as skinny as possible and lightweight as possible. And then you've got your two stages there. So if we throw booster, okay, this is the upper. So Terry had said, well, let's see if the spec beats the B composite. What did Terry say? He used half A 3-14. So we will use Terry's recommendation, and we'll put our A10 in the booster, A10-0. We always use a 0 delay for our two-stage rockets. So then we launch. So according to this is only going to go 919 feet. So the blue streak with the composite B would actually go higher. Let's try an A10 in this top one. See, sometimes when you have the high thrust motors, it seems like it's a good idea, but they have so much drag that it actually doesn't end up. Okay, so the two A10s get you to 1,125 feet. So that's pretty darn close to that composite motor. And the spec was released before the composite motors came out. So it's possible that you could win with a composite motor in a very lightweight rocket. Because like I said, that blue streak isn't super optimized for lightweight. So if you were to take, the spec is super optimized. So like everything's really thin. Like the fins are just big enough to give correction, but they're small enough that you can cut down on the weight. So that would be an interesting kind of matchup to see if you have this spec with the two stage going 1,100 feet, and then that, let's go back to that blue streak and see, we were going 1,200 feet on that composite B6. So, and you could probably get that a little higher, like I said, if you optimize this. So that would be interesting to see. I wonder, we knew when those composite motors came out, the smaller ones, that they would be potentially changing kind of the way things were. The A's not so much, just because they're kind of wimpy A's. But yeah, the B's are, looks like they're giving them a run for the money. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll have to pay attention to that this year at the competition to see how those work. Let's see. Sort of digging through here. I've been jumping all over the place. So Terry says, just posted another postal rocket. Is that the airmail rocket? Postal? The airmail? I don't know. That joke doesn't make sense unless you actually know what the airmail looks like. The airmail, oops. looks like a postal rocket. This is our postal rocket. See, there's little letters and things. It's very exciting. Um, okay, we did get the one email from a customer, and basically, holy cow. I haven't actually read this email. They just told me about it right before I ran in here. So, and he's already been answered, but it's kind of one of those things, like Tim says, oh, did I do that already? I did. When you have a problem, kind of looking at it and trying to troubleshoot. So this is one that's kind of fun to troubleshoot. So this customer had a rocket. Okay, so he had a drogue chute in it, and he's got everything set up. He's got his mass whatever in it, like a mass override on it. So when you have the drogue chute in, the rocket was going 3,500 feet. Just for reference, this is on an M motor, so very big. So with the drogue in it, it was going 3,500 feet. When you take the drogue out, it was going 13,500 feet. So it was going 10,000 feet higher without the drogue. And he's like, he wasn't sure what was going on with it. So I am going to, he sent his motor to, it looks like it's a custom motor. So we're going to add this motor to my RockSim. So I'm going to go to File, Import Engine Files, because he sent us the engine file. This is a VTP M1602, whatever that means, add. So I've added my motor, and then I will need to open the kit file he sent us, which is a Dark Star Extreme. Sounds like maybe a Wildman rocket. Yeah, Wildman. Okay. So he sent his rocket, and then so one thing we do first is we'll look at the flight simulations. So you may know the answer to this question already if you've got your sleuthing skills on. This is the file he sent. These are his simulations. So you may or may not notice something here, but I'm gonna kind of walk through the steps in case you don't catch it right now, and then we will kind of go through. So we're gonna pretend that we're gonna launch this rocket with that. Actually, I can load it from here. It's not too often that I'm reloading stuff. Whoops, I don't want to do that. We want to, what am I doing, Michelle? Load and load engines. Okay, so we got our motor loaded in there now, our nice little orange thing. Flight events. So his main parachute deploys at apogee, and his drogue parachute deploys at max ejection delay. And we got all our normal stuff. I'm gonna make this launch rod a lot longer because it's a giant rocket. Our normal kind of settings. Okay, so now we're gonna launch. Oh, I know. Oh yeah, couldn't remember if the drogue was in there or not. So now we are going to launch. So with the drogue in there, I need to take my comment out because it's only going 36, 33. So then I'm going to take his drogue parachute out. Delete. Yep. Now we're going to launch again. The same motor. And now we're going 14,000 feet. So I can confirm, I can recreate what he says. That's usually the first thing if you do any software tech support for anything. The first thing is trying to see if you can recreate the problem. I can recreate the problem. I'm getting at 11,000 difference. So if I come here and I run my little 2D cartoon to see what's going on. So we're launching very slowly. This is a really heavy rocket. Well, that's part of the reason. So it's going really slow. And then we see the main parachute pop out. here. So if I go to the graph, I'm gonna try this. Tim knows all of these like off the top of his head what he's doing, but so I'm looking at the graph here of this flight, and I want to zoom in here. So coefficient of drag is green. So look at this coefficient of drag, like here, look at this kind of wonky going all over the place. Now, if I come to this one without the drogue, and we graph the same graph, we're still getting the wonky. I know what the problem is, I know why it wasn't working, and I'm just trying to figure out how we can see that. But, so clearly there's something funny with the drogue chute. So I'm going to reopen this file because I deleted the drogue. I'm not going to change it. Okay, so one of the things we can do is look at what's going on. And so you'll notice the drogue is set to deploy at max ejection delay. Nobody has posted what's wrong yet, so maybe it wasn't clear. I don't know if it would have been clear if I didn't already know the answer, but the drogue is set to deploy at max ejection delay. Okay. What's our max ejection delay? Oh wait, it's 0. So that means that when this sucker launches after the burn time, so if I go to my M16 2, I have no idea what manufacturer this thing is. So pull this up here. All the way down. Whenever I had problems trying to find motors, I just turn all the filters off. Even though this is a pain to scroll, this should be every single motor that is in the database. Sometimes filters just don't always work right, especially because there we go. So this is a burn time of 3.5 seconds. So what that means is at 3.5 seconds into the flight, the parachute's popping out. So, all right, guys. So, we loaded this engine. Yeah, the engine's there. So if we launch this thing, and we know 3.5 seconds into the flight that this parachute is going up. So I'm going to drag here. Well, at 3.5, see, look, see the parachute did pop out. So look at that. The parachute is, the rocket's upside down. So basically that drogue chute is coming out and it's big enough and it's effective enough that it's causing a 10,000 foot difference in it. So you can look at this little guy, you know, this little cartoon thing isn't just for fun, it's also a tool too. So you can see, you know, as soon as it hits there. And the other thing you can do is you can click on the details tab. You guys can't see this, can you? I'm gonna have to figure this out for next time. Okay. So you click on this little details tab and that'll show you all the data. So we're gonna go back here. So at 3.2, yeah, so watch the drag force here. So it's 6.87 newtons here while it's going up. And then boom, it pops to like 2,000 as soon as that parachute pops out because there's so many forces working on that with that parachute out. So, so that was his problem, was that his drogue chute was set to go out at max ejection delay and then the motor had the delay. So, which makes sense because if he's using electronics, he probably isn't using a delay on his motor. That, you know, an M, I don't think M's even come with delays. So if you're using electronics and you're using a 0 delay motor, in RockSim, you have to you use the delay as a way to tell when the timer would go off, for example. So if the drogue chute's actually going out, um, say it, well, it's a little weird to set up your main to deploy at Apogee, because unless you really want your drogue chute to be kind of like a, could pop out while it's still going up. Normally you have your drogue set to go at max at Apogee, and then you have your main pop out on the way down. So basically, the way he's got this set up, the drogue is always going to pop out at before the parachute before Apogee, um, unless we flip it to one of these other ones, and then at that point it's going to be popping out after your main, and that would be silly too. So really, I would recommend that the drogue pops out at Apogee, and the main goes at a certain altitude, usually is what we do. But so if we set this max ejection delay, say he really wants that drogue parachute to pop out. So one thing you have to figure out is what time Apogee's at, because you're going to have so Apogee is about 8.87. So you want it to pop out, and your burn time was 3.5. So you're talking about 12-ish seconds from liftoff to Apogee. So he wants his drogue to pop out maybe 8 seconds. So then you would put your motor delay, instead of 0, you would change it to 8. And then launch. If we do that, it's still going to pop out early. So like, see, we're only getting 10,000 feet instead of the 14,000 I got with the no drogue version, but it's better. So yeah, so we get questions like that all the time where people are like, I don't understand what's going on, and sometimes it takes a little bit of sleuthing, and sometimes it's really fun to figure out, look at stuff like this and figure out what's going on, because people do funny things to their rockets and RockSim, sometimes intentionally, because you can't do it in real life. But if I want to launch an M motor, the walls were just vibrating. That was weird. Um, I'm not level 3 certified, so I'm never going to fly an M motor, but I could do it in RockSim or the launch visualizer. So that's kind of fun. But sometimes when they mess with things, they kind of break things too. So it's hard to know sometimes what got switched around when you weren't paying attention, or you did something goofy, but then you forgot you did the goofy thing. So yeah, just a little bit of a that. So yeah, 0, Terry. It was the ejection charge was going off at 0 for that. So that is all the questions I have for right now. You guys have just been very enthusiastic, but not very full of questions today. So I'm going to show off the launch visualizer, because we like to do that and we want people to sign up. So launch visualizer is at rocksim.com, and this is kind of looking at that. We're going to throw this kit that he sent us into the launch visualizer, and then we're going to see what happens. Although I think I can change the thing. So okay, so we are going to, can I do this? Oh, I didn't like that. I couldn't remember if you could drag or drop sometimes. So dark star, upload. Hopefully this should work. It's a pretty straightforward rocket. It's interesting. So I don't know if you noticed what I just do. Here we go. Trying to zoom in. I don't know if you noticed, but the launch pad changed. I'm gonna make us all sick. The launch pad just changed. This is like based on the gun turret launch pad we sell. It's the high power pad. I don't think I remembered that they did that. Here we go. Okay, so launch site. Let's pick a fun launch site somewhere. Let's see. Carlos, you said you were in Marietta. Let's see. Does have states in them? GA. Garden State, Kansas, Muskegon, California. Vegas, Michigan. We have our Ottawa person, so I know these are not there, but we're going to launch in Kitscoty, Canada, Calgary, Canada. It's probably very cold there. Okay, look at all those clubs nearby. That's cool. Okay, so we're launching in Canada, um, which is also a little funny that we're going to launch an M motor in Canada because I know the high power rules are very different in Canada. Like I think G is a high power motor in Canada. So, and they have rules about using electronics and stuff too. We get questions on that sometimes. Okay, so I'm not going to angle it. We're going to change our launch guide length to 96 inches. So this isn't, the rocket's not taller than the launch pad. That would not be good. Weather. Oh, let's go 0 degrees Fahrenheit. It's probably close to that or below that. And so what, that's negative 17 Celsius. So for Canada, that's probably fine. So selecting our motor. Oh, you know what? This motor that he has won't work, but we can pick a different one. So we're going to choose an engine because the motors are, you can't upload custom engines to the launch visualizer right now, at least. So we're going to pick, let's see, that was a 1608. We'll do the 1650. I don't know why it says unknown manufacturer. Okay. And then we are going to give it a custom delay of 10 seconds. Okay. And then our flight events. So we've got, I'm going to fix this. So the drogue deploys at apogee, and then the main parachute deploys at altitude. I was going, what, 1,400 feet? So we don't want our main parachute to come out there. We will never see it again. But I don't want it to fall. Let's go 800. That's still really high, but it's coming from 14,000 feet. I don't want it to fall 10,000 feet on just the drogue. That seems scary. Okay, and then we're going to launch. Oh, we don't have enough credits. How sad. I didn't think about. Oh shoot, and now I've lost all the work. I didn't think I thought I had a lot of credits. Oh, I have 1,000 credits. Apparently that M motor is a credit suck up. Well, since we're here and we're talking about it, I don't know if this will work because of the weird shrunken thing. We will see. I will give you guys your gift. So our gift for today is, oh, I have to do it from this mode. Okay, I'm gonna switch back here. And let me turn off these little things. And I'm going to turn this on and then move it up. Oh, hey, I think I figured out how to fix my screen. Kind of. Oh, it's got all messed up. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Okay, so let's see, does this show up? What we're doing today is we are giving everybody, for our 100th episode, 10,000 free booster credits. So you can fly this M motor there. And I'm going to switch this on again because I don't know what's going on with this, but for our 100th episode, so you'll use the code RSL100 to add your booster credits. And I'm going to do that now so I can get this. And it's good through January 16th, 2023. So you can redeem the coupon at any time. Can you see? Oh my gosh, so messed up today. Okay, I'm gonna move this way up. So you can see here, hopefully. If I show it like 15 times, maybe we'll do it. Okay, so to redeem the coupon code, you're going to go to your profile and user dashboard. I think this will work. Credits and membership data. And then we're going to go pay now and apply coupon. This is a really long way to go about it. You can also get there by going to the home page and scrolling down and clicking pay now here. You'll click apply coupon, and then we're going to go RSL123. That's for, was that the code? Now I'm confusing myself as well. 100. Ha! We got some other things coming down the pipeline, so that's not, RSL 123 won't work, but I'm getting my coupon codes mixed up. So RSL 100, I click apply, and look at that, 10,000 booster credit has been added to my coupon. So now, if I go to my profile, look at that, I got 11,000 credits. So now, oh, we got 10. Okay. Oops, I don't want to add anyone. I'm going to go back to my select rocket design, choose design. Let's see, my new design is this dark star, select. Okay. So choose our launch site again. Calgary, get Scotty, okay. We're good there. The launch guide length is weirdly, I need to, like 8 feet. Come on, 8. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. Launch conditions, right? Defaults to Kelvin for some reason. Choose motor. Okay. We'll do the M18 because it's right here, and I'm lazy. Oops. And we'll do our custom delay. At this point, it doesn't really matter because we're going to change our flight events. Okay. So we're going to have the drogue deploy at Apogee and the main deploy at altitude. Nope, not Apogee, altitude. 800. Okay. So this is going to use up 5,862 of my free 10,000 boosters. This is going to take a while because it's a huge simulation. Computer's definitely running hot now from running the live stream software and the launch visualizer. So here we go. And this is another place where you could actually test out, if you've got a lot of extra credits and you've got the time, you can test out, because you would have seen that drogue parachute pop out way too early on the way up too. So just like the little 2D cartoon we were looking at before, this is the 3D version. It is a fun way to do it, but it will suck up nearly 6,000 credits, so beware for that. So now my rocket's coming down. Let's look at the data. So this had it going 12,846 feet. That's with the drogue coming out at Apogee and the main coming out at 800. So, so pretty good. And then I wonder what the range is for the. Looks like it's 1,900 feet. So nearly 2,000 feet. So you're like half a mile-ish, close to half a mile. So a little bit, a little ways, but what would it be if we didn't have the drogue in the main? What if the main popped out? That would be crazy. Let's see. Oops. Do flight events. So we're going to have the main parachute deploy at Apogee. So what happens? I don't have enough credits. Oh, because it was 5,600 and I have 51. Darn it. Okay. I can add credits to myself, but it's kind of a pain to do while I'm logged in with one way and logged in the other. Um, but yeah, so I guess that's a mystery for next time about that. So so yeah. Um, so there we go. Terry asks, can we design a Delta paper glider in RockSim? And I think we've covered this, a couple times, but basically gliders and RockSim don't really work. They can kind of simulate the up, but obviously the down, the glide part, just doesn't simulate right at all. There's just way too many variables in that. And so um, you might be able to make it, build it in RockSim so it looks correct. Um, and you might even possibly be able to, depending on how much of a glider, how much sticks out, you might even be able to get it to simulate the up fairly correctly if it's not too wide. And paper, that's the other problem is paper. I mean, straight paper is floppy and so, fluttery and stuff. So I don't know if that would really stiffer, cardboard, cardstock can do better, but paper would be pretty. Your problem ends up being like we talked about a couple weeks ago, the coefficient of drag. What is the coefficient of drag? Glider, and then the glider has horizontal, lift and all the different things that affect it more than a regular rocket. Um, so yeah, but so hopefully everybody got that. That coupon code again is RSL100 for RockSim Live 100. So if you go to rocksim.com, you will need a logged in account. You can't do the not logged in version because it doesn't know how to apply credits to they don't know who you are. But you can throw that in and get those 10,000 credits, and then you can have fun if you want to launch a couple 1M as we discovered. Um, but yeah, that coupon code's good through like I said, January 16th. So you can redeem it up January 15th if you get around to it. There are also booster credits. So booster credits don't expire. So if you go today and load them in your account and then don't use your account for a month, they'll still be there. The monthly credits expire, but the booster ones always stay. So yeah, so that's a little gift from us to you guys for showing up for basically almost 2 years, 52 weeks a year. So we're 4 weeks away, we're a month away from 2 years of doing this, which is crazy. And I think we missed 1 week because Tim and I were both gone. I think that's the only one we've missed. So just thank you guys so much for supporting us and coming and talking shop with us. It's a lot of fun. We weren't sure when we started this how this would go. We still aren't sure sometimes. But it's kind of a fun and different experience to do, and we like being able to talk to you guys live and answer questions in real time. Sometimes emails or phone calls just aren't quite the same. And it's nice to chat a little bit back and forth. Even you guys are chatting with text, and I'm blabbering on. But yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in today. Tim should be back for the foreseeable future. I don't think he has anything coming up for I don't know, maybe till summer now. So he should be back a lot more. But if not, I will be here. So, and if you have any questions, feel free to email them to the contact form on the website. Or I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen for some of that. Hopefully, I covered everything we needed. But yeah, email your questions in ahead of time. That gives us time to prepare. Or you can save them up and throw them rapid fire at Tim. He knows a lot more off the cuff, but like me with the competition stuff, that's not stuff I deal with every day, so I don't know those off the top of my head. So yeah, but feel free to throw that all in there, and